This is TransportBT, a podcast of BT correspondents.
Welcome to TransportBT, a podcast of BT correspondents. I'm your host, correspondent Derryn Wong. Every week, my colleagues and I break down a business story that matters. Now, who needs middlemen? Since the first ancient Mesopotamian farmer thought, hey, why am I giving Timmy a cut when I can sell to Jimmy directly? That, in a nutshell, is direct-to-consumer retail. It's a tale as old as time, but one that has been revived by the internet being a straight-to-your eyeballs and your wallet line of communication. It's helped Apple and Tesla become market giants worth trillions of dollars. Now you can buy everything direct, air purifiers, TVs, watches, and more. But what about the most expensive and literally the biggest, most massive purchase you can make other than a home? I'm talking about a car, of course. Now, the automotive industry is notoriously averse to change. But, with the EV age comes a change in how you buy cars. Tesla kicked all of this off about a decade ago. It went straight to the buyer, figuring that with its newfangled EV tech, it would appeal to the tech-minded buyer who wanted something different. The American EV maker's meteoric rise has obviously not gone unnoticed, though, by traditional car makers. And one of those is the Volkswagen Group, with a market cap of only 50 billion euros. But there's no mistake that big changes are coming to this automaking giant. Its luxury flagship brand Audi announced a small but significant step right here in Singapore. So starting in January 2025, it will begin selling all of its cars directly to you. Now, I presume our listeners can all afford Audis, of course, but more importantly, this is the first time Audi is doing this anywhere in the world. And to talk us through the whole process is someone I've known a long time who's a good friend. And he's been in the hot seat at Audi since 2019. And I'm talking about Markus Schuster, the MD of Audi Singapore. So welcome to the show, Markus.
Thanks, Derryn. And thanks for having me on the show.
Of course.
I just learned it's a very new format for you as well, right?
It is a very new format, yeah. Can you tell?
No. But it's interesting because watching the American elections, the topic of podcasts and that format has become much, much more important also.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's a cool format.
Okay, so, I was talking about the big news for Audi. So, please tell us what exactly is the change for Audi and what are you going to do in Singapore?
So Audi has been in Singapore for a really, really long time.
Yeah.
And we've seen that not only the car buyer, but the consumer preferences have really, really shifted. So there's a huge shift toward online business. People are very informed about the products that they buy. And people expect a very different buying experience than they used before COVID.
So just to explain it to our non-car people out there listening, the traditional dealership was the franchise dealership, right? Where the dealer handles everything. They can set price. They do the trade-ins, everything, right?
Yes. In the past, the automotive industry was very traditional. In the classic franchise model, you would go to the dealership. And this retailer, he would buy the cars from us. We're the importer. We, in turn, we buy the cars from the factory.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have a 3-tiered system, and then the retailer would sell the car to you. So this is the traditional car sales model that you would have in the past. And that is changing. You have some brands coming into the market which do direct to consumer, mainly online direct, where you actually don't have a traditional dealership anymore.
Right.
So consumers can purchase the car directly online and will be in a physical contact with retailer only when they get the car delivered or when they go to the after sales.
The change for you guys really is that people will be able to buy any Audi from you guys directly, right? That's the big change.
Yes. What we are implementing now with Audi is this omni-channel presence, where you have the opportunity to choose how you want to purchase your car. You can purchase your car completely online. So you go on our new online direct sales platform and you can configure your car. You have access to the stock that we have, select the financing that you want to have, the insurance that you want to have. We even will offer trade-in for you, and you can do this all online. But we know in Singapore, people still prefer to have, we call it warm body to talk to.
No, someone to demand discounts from.
No, it's not only that. It's especially a car is a complex product, right?
It's very...
And it's a major investment, especially in Singapore. It's the second biggest investment that you can do in your life.
Yeah.
So a lot of consumers still have questions around the buying process, how to spec their car the best, and even to choose the right model.
Yeah.
And for the physical side, we are going to open an Audi Experience Center, which we call Audi House of Progress, which is much, much more than just your regular dealership.
So it's a brand new showroom with a new concept owned by you guys. And it's going to be in the middle of the city, right?
Yeah.
And when is that coming?
This is coming at the beginning of next year.
Wow. Okay.
And the important thing about this is it's not just replacing the dealership, but it's a completely new format where you have the possibility to interact with the brand, where you can have special experiences. So we will have driving simulators there, for example. And what is important, we want to interact much, much more with potential customers or maybe also people that we've never seen with a brand. So that's why we are also bringing in a top-notch F&B partner. So we will be collaborating with Burnt Ends.
Wow. Okay.
Michelin star restaurant in Singapore.
Yeah, the meat place. Yeah. Okay.
Because in Singapore, F&B, that is a very, very big draw.
The important question is who is providing the coffee?
The coffee will be done by Burnt Ends directly.
Oh, okay. So I better go down and try it then. Interesting. I mean, that sounds familiar because, Porsche did that earlier this year. They had a showroom outside of the normal automotive place. They had good F&B. They really went lifestyle, which sounds like what you guys are doing.
Yes.
You're introducing a brand new business model to Singapore, and that's direct to consumer. So how is that different from, say, Germany or, I know there's some different business models out there that Audi has around the world. Can you explain that to us?
So there are currently different business models in the automotive industry.
Yeah.
There are three main ones. One is the traditional franchise model that we already discussed.
Yeah.
The second one is the agency model. And the third one is the direct to customer.
Okay.
Okay. So in Germany, you would have the traditional ICE cars still sold through the dealership. And for the electric cars that have been brought on the market now, for example, the Q6 e-tron, they are sold via an agency model.
Agency is where you as a customer sign directly the contract with Audi. The price is fixed by Audi, right?
Yes.
And not by the dealer. So they just go to the dealer to pick up the car, maybe trade in the car and some stuff.
In the agency model, the dealer becomes more of a service provider for the manufacturer.
Right. And on the other extreme, so direct to consumer is where you, Audi, more or less own everything, right?
Exactly. So regarding the new car business, we will own the whole process.
Right.
So you will come to us to the House of Progress. You will do your test drive there. We will consult with you to put together the right car for you. And that's why you also, on an importer level, obviously you have much more costs on your side.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're just taking the customer margin and you can cash it in. You have a lot of more costs, more risks and responsibilities on your plate than you have before.
So, I mean, you guys have had a very long relationship with your dealer, Premium Auto. And of course, business people being business people, we understand why Audi is doing what it does, but they've kind of been happy about it, right? They get, 15% per car. So now they're not getting that anymore. What's in it for them? What's in it for the dealer model going forward?
Premium has been a super trusted partner for us. In the future, when we take over the direct new car business, Premium will still stay in place as our trusted business partner, and they will concentrate on all the after sales.
Right.
So anything that has to do with servicing your car, with repairing your car, that will still remain with Premium, which for us is an extremely important part. If you think of the whole customer life cycle, actually the part that is taken up by the new car business is quite short.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
you maybe come to the dealership or to an experience center or purchase your car online maybe twice, maybe 3 times. But then afterwards, you will be in contact with your service partner every year.
Yeah.
When you go to service, sometimes twice. And that's why Premium for us is still such an integral part of this whole equation.
So it will be the first market in the world that Audi's doing everything direct to consumer.
Yes, correct.
Wow. And I guess the natural question is, why Singapore? I mean, yeah, why Singapore?
I mean, you're Singaporean. I've been here for 5 years.
You're half Singaporean already, dude. Yeah.
So Singapore is a very good test bed to see if how well a system like this works. It's always a little bit ahead of all the developments. Also, it's a small market. So you find the perfect environment. We're working with one trusted partner, which is premium.
Yeah.
Whereas in bigger markets, you're talking to sometimes hundreds of partners.
How many dealers does Audi have in the USA, for example?
To be honest, off the cuff, I can't tell you at the moment.
Yeah, but it's huge. I mean, we always focus on Singapore, and sometimes when I go to other markets, it's just like mind-boggling how many cars they sell.
And that's the reason why we decided to implement this new business concept here in Singapore.
Okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to ask Markus more about Audi sales and whether or not he can sell me an Audi cheaper in future because of this.
If you've been a fan of the podcast Mark to Market, Wealth BT and Property BT, they are moving to a new listing, BT Correspondence. Look for episodes every Tuesday from October. All the insights and analysis and market trends, property, wealth, and soon mobility too. Powered by the Business Times journalism of Genevieve Kwa, Leslie Yee, Ben Paul, and Derryn Wong. Because great reads should be heard. The BT Correspondence channel. Find BT Correspondence wherever you listen to podcasts.
And now, back to TransportBT, a podcast of BT correspondents.
Okay, we've come back from our break and I'm here with Audi Singapore's MD, Markus Schuster. So, Markus, I'm about to butcher your language, so please forgive me.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I like that.
I love weirdly specific German words. You know, there's so many of them out there. So there's one word I thought, I was reading a book and it came out. It's called Spannungsbogen. I hope I got that right.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
It's good? Yeah. Thank you. Dankeschön. And it means the pause before the action. So, and as you mentioned just now, we're going to direct to consumer. There are a lot of more costs involved for Audi. There's a lot more risk, but I presume there's also a lot more benefits to be gained. But what made you pause before you guys took the move to going direct to consumer? Yeah. What really made you think?
Yeah, it's a very good point. Switching to a new business model is always something that you don't take lightheartedly, or it's something that needs a lot of preparation. Right. So that takes some time. What we did together with Audi AG is to discuss how the customer experience can be the best customer experience that we offer. We found that this for us was the best way to set it up. And another point for the timing, you know, car industry is very cyclical and it depends very, very much on the product cycles that a brand has.
Oh yeah, for sure.
In the past, I think you spent half of your time test driving new cars.
Exactly, yeah.
And flying around the world, being invited by all different manufacturers to test drive their fantastic new cars.
Yeah.
And in the last 2 or 3 years, Audi had comparably little new car models coming into the market. And we're at a point now where with the Q4 e-tron launch that we had in July, we're really launching a big product offensive that will span over the next 2 years.
Right.
So we believe that actually the switch in business model and going direct to customer, it's the right point of time to do because we will have a lot more very, very exciting models and products to offer to our customers.
Okay. So those are the big, like the broad strokes, right?
Yeah.
And they do sound quite exciting. But a lot of the time, I think in Singapore, it's a hyper-focused market. You know, some of these customers are really picky, every little thing, you know. So it's really difficult sometimes because I talk to a lot of dealers. And how do you guys go from, you know, kind of like being up there and being Audi, the HQ, and coming down really to the ground level and fixing all the customer pain points? That must be very challenging. I mean, do you have a plan in place for that?
No, I think you're right. Especially consumers in Singapore are very picky.
Because they're paying 200% more.
Rightfully so, because if you pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for a product, you have the right to be picky.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we have to keep that in mind.
I mean, I'm looking to the big model onslaught. As you said, was it because as Audi switched to more EV platforms, then they had a big period of development where you couldn't roll out everything in time or very fast? Is that why as well?
As I said, for every brand, it's cyclical. And the switch to EV for the traditional car manufacturers is a huge challenge, right? Because you are, unlike some Chinese brands, for example, which can 100% concentrate on EVs, you are dealing and you're still developing two completely different technologies at the same time. So it's also a capacity issue on how fast you can roll out new products.
You have to keep the old machinery going, literally. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, what you said was really true. It's one of my pet peeves where everyone thinks it's just going to be, boom, here we're going to go EVs. But actually, ICE is going to be around for the next, 10 to 20, 30 years at least. And
so that's why actually we believe the environment in Singapore is a very good one. You have a very healthy growth of electrification here and EV take up. And that has to do with the fact that there's a clear roadmap. There are clear commitments from the government. And in Singapore, if the government tells something, they will stick to it.
I don't agree with you 100%, but that's a topic for another time. But yeah, we can't argue that the EV adoption in Singapore has been really good. I followed Audi for many years, and I was there when the new A4 came out in 2008, and you guys had a really huge uptake. And for the first time in many years, people were like, wow, Audi's really right there with BMW and Mercedes. But since then, you guys have slipped quite a bit from 6th in 2020, but now you're 11th. But that's quite a big difference. And you think that this new wave of EVs can help you guys boost sales, or can anything get you back up to that?
Definitely. I think the market dynamics that we have at the moment will really, really help to bring the sales volume up, because over the next 3 to 4 years, you will have a growing market in Singapore, right? Because you have your 10-year cycle and you can calculate how the market will develop.
Yes.
Hopefully, and I wish that to all the Singaporeans, the COE prices will come down also. And then most crucial part for us is the product offensive. And that is something that always pushes the needle northwards.
Okay, very interesting. Well, looking outward a little bit, Porsche did the direct thing, and they're still their sales are not as good as they were during their franchise era. On the other hand, you have brands like BMW who took 2 dealers, and their sales are they're catching up to Mercedes, but they're not quite there yet. Looking at all these changes in the industry, what do you think is the future for dealers?
So for me, to be honest, I wouldn't want to make a prediction on the predominant business model in 10 years from now, because it's really hard to say that. And you might have still in 10 years all kinds of different business models in the market for different brands. Because if it works for one brand, it doesn't mean it has to work for the other brand. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I think in our new consumer world, people are also happy to work with different business models.
I think actually, at the end of the day, as a consumer, whatever's most painless, you would just do it, right? I mean, like for me, I gave a lot of money to Jeff Bezos because it's easy, right? And I don't know, are you trying to do something like that with cars as well? Like really take the pain out of it?
That's the thing. The consumer does not really care about business models. Consumer wants to have the best product at the best price, with the best service.
Fastest as well.
Fastest and very convenient. Those are the 5 points. And if you're able to deliver that consistently, and if you're able to bind your customers to your brand, then you'll be successful, no matter what the business model in the background is. The business model is something for us business people.
Yeah, it's only important to business people and business journalists. Right. And for my last serious question, it'll be the most important one. Will your future Audi consumers expect lower prices? I know the answer. COE prices are going to destroy it. No, I'm kidding.
It's a very good question, because it's a very important point in Singapore. The question is always, what is cheap?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's true.
And for us, it's more about value for money. Because if you spend 100,000 for the COE, then you might want to save a little bit on your car, but you still go for the best quality for price that you can get. And that is our approach in that. So we're definitely not going to be slashing prices with a new business model.
Yeah.
Because that would also be, from a business perspective, would not be sustainable.
Exactly. Now, I wanted to ask you about that too, because obviously the Chinese brands are coming in, big market share, big numbers. And how sustainable is that? I mean,
there's a big discussion also in Europe
yes,
about the tariffs that they want to put on Chinese cars, which have to do with the assumption that actually the Chinese state is supporting these manufacturers on a national level.
Yeah.
And that is something which will be also interesting to see, because you can't run a system that is permanently supporting massively an industry forever.
That's all the questions we have for you, Markus. Thank you so much, Markus, for your time.
Well, Derryn, thanks for having me on your podcast.
Second guest ever. Really good.
Yeah, it's been fun, as always, with you.
Yeah. That's it for Transport BT this time. Now, next week, BT Correspondents will be back with another episode, so please become a pod person and check it out. As for this Transport podcast, we aim to cover anything that drives, flies, or swims, maybe even rockets through space if it comes down to it. If you have any thoughts or questions about the show, email us at btpodcast, that's one word, with an sbtpodcasts@sph.com.sg. I'm Derryn Wong. Thank you for listening.
This is a podcast by the Business Times. Find more BT podcasts at businesstimes.com.sg/podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. This podcast is meant to provide general information only. SPH Media accepts no liability for loss arising from any reliance on the podcast or use of third parties' products and services. Please consult professional advisors for independent advice.